The Michigan football program is under fire. The Wolverines and head coach Jim Harbaugh received a notice of allegations from the NCAA last night for level 2, which is still serious but not the highest level, and one level 1 at Jim Harbaugh himself for intentionally lying, for lack of a better word, to the NCAA or misleading them. The violations stem from the COVID time, 2020, 2021, extra coach in the field, recruiting violations, Zooming with recruits during their different workouts. And then the level 1 is Jim Harbaugh, when confronted with it, was not truthful or purposely misled the NCAA investigators. Now, the one thing that is out there that we're trying to confirm the reality of it, that we'll talk about here in a second, is whether or not this leads to Jim Harbaugh, if he's Michigan's coach next year, being suspended for potentially as much as half of the season. We've got all of the news you need to know on the NCAA allegations against Michigan football coming up right now. I am your host, James Yoder. You're watching the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. Let's get into Michigan football receiving notice of allegations Thursday evening from the NCAA. It's been out there for a couple days. It's funny enough, I joked at the office on Wednesday. I said, oh man, maybe this whole thing about, I've seen some rumors about recruiting violations and stuff like that. And it was kind of just laughed off by my coworkers, and I laughed it off myself at first. And then Thursday morning, the rumors started to turn into a fever pitch, then into articles, and then in an actual notice of allegations from the NCAA to Michigan. So here is what we know, folks. Michigan received a notice of allegation late Thursday evening, as I said. The program faces 4 level 2 violations and 1 level 1 violation. Now, the level 1 violation is against Harbaugh specifically on the level 2 violations. So they asked him about the level 2 violations, and he either misled them or gave them false information, a.k.a. he did what a lot of people might do when accused of something that they don't necessarily think is a big deal or don't want to admit, is they either said, no, that's not true, or they just didn't answer the questions in a truth or, in a direct manner. And so that's where things stem. So that is what Michigan is facing. If it was just level 2, you might lose, like, okay, Harbaugh has one less in-house recruiting visit next year, or the program suspended during fall camp, like 2 hours a week of workouts. It's something very minor that probably isn't even really enforced that much. But since they did it, and now they're kind of accusing Jim Harbaugh of misleading or lying to them, you kind of go back to 11 years ago, 10 years ago, Jim Tressel, same exact kind of thing. He was suspended for half the season, and then he ended up getting fired before the season even occurred. I think that's what these allegations are kind of going in the same path. So keep an eye out as we're going to talk through the show about what that could look like to Harbaugh. But Tressel was accused of like 4 different, lying about 4 or 5 different things, where Harbaugh, from what I know, is just this one instance. So let me know your thoughts. Get down in the comments. Light it up. I'm going to give you my thoughts here in a few moments, but let me know what you guys are thinking on the NCAA's investigation of the Michigan football program. Later on in the show, we're also going to talk the future of Jim Harbaugh. So speaking of Jim Harbaugh, the most serious allegations, as we just have kind of briefed and now talk about a little more, are against him specifically. The level 1, which is one short of lack of institutional control, when you can have serious violations and potentially vacate games, all that different stuff. Didn't get to that point, but level 1 means the NCAA, they could suspend Harbaugh for an entire season. Some people have said the precedent is maybe 2 to 6 games. So we'll see kind of how that shakes out. But he, at some point over the 2021 calendar year, was approached about these things. Michigan's known about these allegations. They actually kind of self-sanctioned against an on-field staffer a little bit more than about a year ago. So a staffer who's no longer even with the program for some on-field coaching. And this and the recruiting allegations of Zooming during COVID is kind of what Jim Harbaugh was confronted with. And as such, did not do a good job of being forthright with the NCAA. So we're going to talk more about potential suspension, what it means, and what Jim Harbaugh's future looks like. But I did want to tell you guys about today's sponsor, a new sponsor. The Michigan Football Report is sponsored by Fume. Be smart, don't start. Kick the habit and put it out before it puts you out. Fume is a natural diffusive device that uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one. Fume is not a vape. It's a non-electronic device designed to transform your negative habits. Instead of pods filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like peppermint and cinnamon for delicious natural flavors. Fume's new version 2 model is snappy and tactile with an adjustable airflow dial and magnetic end cap. Your fingers will always have something to do. It's Fume's goal to make switching easy and even enjoyable. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from people just like you who successfully switched when other solutions just didn't work. Head to tryfume.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS to save 10% when you get the Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and the new version 2 Fume to help kickstart your positive habits. That's tryfum.com/chatsports. Use promo code CHATSPORTS. It's down in the comments and the description of today's video for an additional 10% off. Here is the Fume that they sent me. I am enjoying using it, and it comes in some amazing, great packages. Tryfume.com/chatsports. Get 10% off the Journey Pack. Link is down in the comments and in the description. So let's talk about the rumors of a 2 to 6 game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. Now, according to the letter of the law, Harbaugh should, if he is accused, and then either the NCAA finds him guilty, I guess. I'm not sure if that's the actual term they use, or liable. I don't know what the term is. Or if Michigan does an internal investigation and submits it to the NCAA, and the NCAA agrees that that's as egregious as the allegations are, he faces up to a 6-game suspension as early as 2023. And I think going on prior precedent, Ohio State's had a couple of these different issues, right? Urban Meyer, they got ahead of it at Ohio State and said, hey, we're just going to take a 3-game suspension for whatever was going on with Zach Smith and everything that happened in that scenario in 2018. And that the NCAA did accepted it. You go back to the Jim Tressel situation. Ohio State tried to just kind of push the cart down the road, kick the can down the road as long as they could, suspend a couple guys here, there, the other. But what ended up happening is the NCAA made them vacate or not be non-bowl eligible for an entire season. 2012, turned out that was Urban Meyer's first year. They went undefeated and may have lost out on a national championship because, you remember, Notre Dame was the only undefeated team that year. They ended up playing Alabama, who absolutely destroyed them. If Ohio State was undefeated, they would have been in the national title game against Notre Dame. Maybe they would have won a national title. So I think Michigan should get ahead of it. But in general, my take here is the NCAA serious here? Are we seriously going to go back and relitigate the terrible policies that did absolutely nothing to keep people healthy and safety of that football programs, college athletics, all across the board, athletes, coaches, administrators were subject to in 2020, 2021. Hell, even in parts of 2022, there were still mask mandates and COVID restrictions as recently as the 2022 NCAA tournament. So it's an absolute joke, and I think Michigan's violations here, if there are any, are jaywalking when other programs have been getting away with much more serious crimes, if you get the analogy there. But that's just my take. I think this is a kind of a joke, but maybe Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, from his stubbornness, turned a 1-day problem into a 2-day problem, or turned a misdemeanor into a felony by just what's the term? The lie, the cover-up's worse than the crime. That could be what we're dealing with here with Jim Harbaugh. So as I said, Harbaugh's level 2 allegations, right, from the NCAA are that Michigan used former analyst Ryan Osborn, who was kind of a dweeb, honestly, on social media. He's one of these guys, he posted a lot of weird stuff. Remind me of Matt Dudek a lot. But Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, Mozzie Smith, others in the 2021 season referred to him as their defensive line coach. He wasn't a coach. So Michigan have addressed this. Michigan, came out and reported themselves a year ago using him as an on-field coach. He is now with the Ravens, left with Mike McDonald after last season. Also, that Harbaugh's program violated health and safety rules during COVID. There's some speculation that there were some practices where coaches were there that they shouldn't have been, or workouts, etc. So we'll see how that shake out. It's kind of a slap on the wrist, hopefully. And then here's the one that I think the general assessment that Harbaugh misled people on is that Michigan in the recruiting department was trying to still put together a recruiting class. The recruiting was really struggling, if you guys remember, in March of 2020. And to turn it around and have a decent 2020 recruiting class, could they just rely on their prior assessments of players? No, that they were doing Zooms with high school coaches and allowing basically Michigan to live stream in to high school practices and workouts when technically it was a dead period and couldn't have any contact with recruits because of health and safety. Now, I'm not sure how you can catch coronavirus through Zoom, but apparently, according to the NCAA, 2 years ago, that was a possibility. So that's what Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, is facing. But I smell, folks, a rat here. What does that smell? I got three names, all right? somebody had to come out and out Michigan for this, because they're not going to self-report, and the NCAA doesn't have any private investigators. They're just kind of checking people's Zoom records, or have secret hidden cameras inside of athletic departments. So I got three names. Somebody ratted Michigan out here. It's either Josh Gaddis, although I'm kind of maybe denying him, because if he does that, Michigan's got a lot of things they can open up the door on him that he doesn't want out there in an official capacity on his past egregious behavior when it comes to the inner workings of recruiting. So that's one. More likely is Don Brown. I don't know. Don Brown didn't really turn out the way he liked it. I think he was kind of a stubborn guy. I ain't the candidate here, though. I think it's Matt Dudek, because I think he is probably in the middle of it, and he just got fired from his job at Mississippi State as well. I'm guessing at some point he reported something, or maybe self-reported himself to make sure that the trail stopped there, and when he took another job after Michigan. I don't know, whatever it is, but somebody ratted Michigan out here. I'm guessing it's either a former coach or maybe player, although the recruiting aspect of the Zoom, I don't think players would be involved in it, so I'm going Matt Dudek or Don Brown. Hi, guys. I am heading out to L.A. tonight for the Michigan-Georgia national title game. Oh, my God. We booked travel in advance, hotels, tickets. Oh, my, you can't believe it. So you guys still got to go, because the market just cratered for that. So no one wants to buy, take our hotel reservations, can't cancel the flights. And because we're in Dallas, TCU, it's a good thing we booked before the games, because flights are absolutely insane out of here right now going out for TCU. So I'll be out there doing the whole media thing. We'll be at Media Day on Saturday, do some shows, etc., go to the game on Monday. But I want to ask you guys, should we do a live show? The plan was we were going to do like 2-3 hours live Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday morning, but now Michigan's not in the game. Let me know down in the comments. I'll let you guys decide. Put a poll out on Twitter, like 57% said yes, so we'll see if you guys feel the same. Comment yes or no. Should we do live content from College Football Playoff Media Day out in LA this weekend? And while you're down there commenting yes or no, make sure if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as we approach 26. There's a 27,000. 26. We're approaching 26,000 subscribers here on the channel, about 25,600. It's youtube.com/MichiganTV. All right, we're going to talk more on Jim Harbaugh's future at Michigan and what we knew before last night, right? What the speculation was on the NFL, etc. Kind of come here in a second. But the most interesting part about all this is Jim Harbaugh technically could be fired for cause, because if these allegations, which Michigan now has 90 days to respond to, if any of them, level 2, level 1, are found in violation, either Michigan agrees that it happened and tries to work out some sort of plea deal with the NCAA, or if the NCAA says, okay, cool, we've got your response, now we're investigating, and then we're going to give you our findings and suspend or whatever it is. Whatever happens, if any of those turn out to be true, unless this is all just complete BS and it goes away, technically Jim Harbaugh has violated his contract, right? So his requirements are to comply with NCAA rules, and he also has to report any violations of NCAA rules via his program to Michigan's compliance department and directly to athletic director Ward Manuel. So clearly he broke those. I don't think Michigan would be in their best interest to fire him, but it's a possibility that is out there. So we'll see how things shake out from there. Now, yesterday, Jim Harbaugh, kind of as the NFL rumors had hit a fever pitch of 4 days following the Michigan loss to TCU, Harbaugh finally put out a statement yesterday on social media, using the Michigan football social media, not his own. Here's what he had to say. He says, I'm aware of the rumors and speculation over the past few days. College and NFL teams have had great interest in all of our personnel, former players to coaches to staff, and I truly believe that's a testament to the strength of our University of Michigan football program. He continues, as I stated in December, while no one knows what the future holds, I expect I will be enthusiastically coaching Michigan in 2023. I've spoken with President Santa Ono and Athletic Director Ward Manuel and appreciate their support of me and our program. And the statement concludes with, our mission as Wolverines continues, and we are preparing for the 2023 season with great passion and enthusiasm. As our legendary coach Bo Schembechler said, those who stay will be champions. And that is Jim Harbaugh Thursday afternoon. Kind of weird timing, given that Michigan had to know these allegations were coming if people in the media, and there's been internet speculation for 2 or 3 days. You guys, if you follow me on Twitter, it's at James Yoder, you'll see that I quote tweeted a few things and made a few comments on this statement yesterday, one of which is, Harbaugh just kept it so vague. What was the actual term? It's, I expect, okay? I also, if you go check my Twitter account, put out Thursday afternoon, the same speculation to Juwan Howard about 2 years ago that he was going to go for an NBA job. I think it was like summer, fall of 2020. Juwan Howard left no guessing like Harbaugh does. I expect, unless something changes, what's the future holds, yada, yada. Juwan Howard said, I've heard about the speculation and we've received interest for NBA jobs. I'm not interested in them. I'm not talking to them. I will be the coach at Michigan for next season and for the future. No ifs, no what the future holds, none of that. So I think Jim Harbaugh still left some vagaries. Maybe those vague statements were based on these allegations, and maybe Michigan would fire him or something like that. Or, hey, if I'm suspended for 6 games, I'm good with you for college football. I'm heading down to the NFL if I have a job offer. I want to know what you guys think. Where will Jim Harbaugh coach in 2023? Will it be with the Michigan football program? Go down in the comments and give me an M if you think he is coaching for an NFL team. Go ahead down in the comments and type, and let me know where you think Harbaugh coaches this upcoming season. About 8 months ago, less than 8 months from now, Michigan will take the field in the 2023 season. My final thoughts on this NCAA investigation are, in general, I am kind of confused, and I don't want to say upset because it's not something that I personally should get upset about, but the fact that you always hear rumors, and I've heard from people, very credible people who've had high-level sons who are 4- and 5-star players, former coaches, of what goes on at other schools. LSU and Ole Miss and Texas A&M offering cash to players and cars and all these different things that Michigan, I'm sure, has some of it, but you never hear about them getting these allegations and making their coaches look bad and all this different stuff. You see Alabama recruits every year, posting their $80,000 cars next to a house. That doesn't make sense. It's not like their parents are buying it for them or anything like that. And this is before NIL came out, so some of that stuff is legal now. But I do think that Michigan should not just lay down. In the past, right, with the Rich Rod stuff for the practice and everything like that, back with the Fab Five back in the late 90s, Michigan needs to fight back. And hell, maybe even name names. And I mean name names by, if Jim Harbaugh said in a book a few years ago that was on him, I'm not going to mention the author because he's kind of a schmuck, that, how is Michigan going to win when they've got to go up against the cheaters, and kind of speculated on different schools and how they cheat in recruiting and stuff. Well, if you've got it out there, Michigan's had coaches like Josh Gaddis, who was at Alabama. Michigan's had coaches that come from all these different programs. Ed Warner was at Ohio State, right? Guys that have come from Florida. Jim McElwain has his own program, right? So Michigan's got insight into what goes on in almost every single major program. So if they're going to go down for this, fight back to the NCAA, say no circumstances are we going to just accept any suspension of our coach or reduce it and anything like that. And while you're at it, here is a book of violations that our rivals in the Big Ten and other conferences have done over the last several years. And if you're just going to investigate us, let's just be a mafia, rat ourselves and just take down the entire system. I think that's what they should do rather than let Jim Harbaugh potentially get suspended for as much as half of the season next year. So that's my final word. We will be out in LA, guys, tonight, late night, and so we'll be doing some content. Now, if we, I'll put some content out regardless, but whether it's a live show, I'm going to leave that up to you guys. So make sure you follow me for all things college football national championship game. If you want to, it's at James Yoder on Twitter. I will see you guys soon. Until then, go Blue.